We're live.
Yeah, we're live. What is going on, Jennifer Lacey?
Good morning. How are you?
I am splendiferous. Oh,
Nice
check it out.
morning.
We already got somebody.
Who? Oh, waiting. Yes.
NoBS tries it. Let's get ready to rumble. We went to wrestle today. So Steve was at your little birthday party.
He was. He played as he even played a little bit for me. So yes, this week's been a little crazy. It was amazing. This week's been fun. And then Buddy coordinated a pop-up birthday surprise, which had people jump on and join and just wish me happy birthday, I was completely unexpected. And so it was amazing. It was just amazing. Yes.
I don't know. I heard that you sent an email to everybody and said, "Hey, I really want a surprise party, and y'all need to show up to this darn thing."
No, I did not at all. I think Buddy was like low key, like, "Hey, I just want to jump on a call with you, me, Adam, and and Jesse. When's good?" And he was like so low key, like not even nothing. And then it just blew up, and y'all just had so many amazing people on there. So no, it was awesome.
And we got Mr. Bruce saying happy birthday.
Thank you, Bruce.
And we got Bradley. What's going on, Mr. Bradley, coming in from Reno? So what's going on, folks? NoBS tribe members, all you beautiful people in the Omniverse. Hootie hoo on the ones and twos, kicking it. So we're going to be talking about something today, right?
We are, but we've got to like, first of all, let's just make a statement. So those of you that are out there, let us know you're out there. Let us know where you're from and drop a blue heart if it's your very first time listening to us. So that's a big deal. I know some of you may be coming in, and if it's your first time, you're like, what did I just walk into? So there's a couple of ways. So you can watch, you can actually get on your keyboard and you can like start typing, which then engages you with other people watching. And that's really where all the magic is. And so please drop a blue heart if it's your very first time listening to us. So
so we can warm you with some no BS love.
Yes.
So you know what? How about real quick for all the folks like first timers and replay watchers. What we're gonna be talking about is where did the fence come from, and we'll expand on what that means because it really came from last live stream's after party. But we're going to come back to that because we want to show some love to the tribe.
Yes.
And so we got Miss Amy saying good morning from North Carolina.
Good morning.
And then we got the super sneaky. Good morning, Mr. Justin. Here we go. The super sneaky spy that put all that undercover covert operation together. He did a good job at it too.
He did very good.
Mr. Buddy, good morning, my friend. Then we got Jim Guntorius.
Yes.
So was your birthday amazing?
It was amazing. It was very much amazing.
Oh my goodness. And then Mr. Lance coming in. Emotional bungee jumper coming in from California. What's up, Lance?
Thank you, Lance.
It's like super early for him right now.
Oof.
It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. We won't ask you what you're wearing, Lance, and I won't tell anybody if you tell me. Mr. James Gable, the uncommon communicator, coming in from. He was at your party too.
Yes. Perfect.
He's going to inspect the fence that Armando 2.0 built. Oh man, we got all kinds of love coming. Keep them coming. Oh, Jen.
Blue heart. So if you see, Mike, thank you so much for putting the blue heart in there. Those of you that are already in there, we know what the blue heart means. That means this is the first time Mike's been here. So let's love him. Go give him some likes, comment. Go find his page and follow him because that's what we do. And so blue heart, go give him all the tribe love that we have.
Yes, Mike is a solid dude. I've been able to spend some time with him on some calls with the Lane Foundation boys, Davis and Walker. So hit him up. Remember this guy? What's up, Alan?
We're both birthday. Yay! Happy birthday to you, Alan, too.
Oh, it was his birthday also?
He just said March birthday twins. So that means he's got a March birthday. I don't know when, but happy birthday.
It counts. Happy birthday, Alan.
Yes.
And then Mr. Dominic coming in from Canada.
When we're like crossing country lines and stuff.
Yeah, international, girl. He was in the state. I think he was in Seattle a couple weeks ago. I saw a post of his doing some magical ninja lean people. We got another one.
Whoa,
Mr.
good morning,
Juan. Coming in from Cali, man. People getting up early to hang out with us.
Very early. We were there last week. We know.
Cindy.
Good morning.
Cindy, we're gonna be hanging out at the Reciprocal Propulsion Retreat this weekend coming, or the 31st, whatever that is. What's going on, girl? Thanks for jumping in.
Good morning. Thank you.
And then Amut, how you doing, my man?
Yes.
Coming in from Canada, fierce supporter. I'm excited to meet him on our call. We got another one on our emotional bungee jumpers call. Thank you for signing up, Amut. Super excited.
Yes. Another blue heart. So we know what we do. Blue heart. Go love on Dr. Sheree. Go love on her, like her. Tell her that, hey, welcome to our tribe. We're here and it's going to be amazing. So make sure you make her feel welcome.
Yes. And we got to connect with her at the Advancing Construction Operational Excellence Summit in Dallas. So she brought some A game. She's got some power out there, some value for everybody to tap into.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Dr. Sherry, for showing up and being brave with us. So let's expand on what we're going to be talking about, Jen. Where did the fence come from?
So 2 weeks ago, when we went and did our live stream, as we always do, and then we have the after party. And in the after party, which is where we get to sit and listen way more and everyone else gets to talk, the comments and the conversations went around like the fence. And I know a lot of times you talk about like the people, the early adopters and the people that are like in the middle and trying to like figure out, do they go, do they jump, do they not? And then those people that are kind of like resisting and dragging back. So that's kind of a conversation we started with. And then we completely focused on those people in the middle. And the conversation evolved on why do they stay there? What causes them to jump off? What causes them to continue just to go, I'm good. I'm not really ready to do whatever your crazy stuff you're doing, but I'm not gonna, resist. And then, that's kind of how it evolved. And so you said, well, that's a great conversation all by itself.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and again, just to reiterate the after party, like folks, if you're new, and a lot of y'all that have been showing up on the regular, like the specific topics that we're going to discuss in the live stream, those things are not on our 900-year plan.
No.
We have a 900-year plan, right?
We do now because we have a mural board that is labeled 900-year plan.
Yeah, so it counts. And I just and I want to explain this because it's one, appreciation for everybody that shows up and contributes in the comments while we're having the conversation. Two, also appreciation for everybody that shows up to the after party. And the after party link right now is in the NoBS tribe. I'm not the NoBS page on LinkedIn. You can find it. And as we go through the conversation, I'll post the links on the different socials. But when we go to that after party, everybody brings their ideas, their observations, their takeaways from this conversation.
Yes.
And then we get like really into and get to hear everybody's thoughts. And that usually forms or informs the next conversation.
Yes.
So thank you. Like main idea or summary.
Yep.
This doesn't happen without y'all.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen without your deep contribution and connection during the live stream and in the after party. So thank you to you for all of that.
Yes, 100%.
And so where did the fence come from, right? That was the idea or the thing that I took away from the last after party, because we're talking about 20% early adopters, which, by the way, the early adopter rate for emotional bungee jumpers is gone. And shout out to all of the early adopters that signed up. Then 60%, they're kind of on the fence or the frozen middle, right? They want to wait and see, is this thing going to work? Is this the flavor of the month? And in our conversation, we discovered like there's a lot of reasons that people are on the fence. And And I think Bruce was the one that really asked the
Yep.
hard questions, like, well, where did the fence come from? Like, who put the fence there? Like, ooh, that's an interesting thought. And then the last 20%, they're likely not going to jump. They're going to keep doing things the way they're doing them, and that's okay. Let them, right? Like, focus your energy on the early adopters. But we want to talk about the middle. We want to talk about the fence, the people on the fence, why we're on the fence, why the fence is there. How do we get people from the fence? Like, all of that is kind of what we're going to be talking about this morning. Did I miss anything, Jennifer Lacey?
No, not at all. And I mean, and as you were talking, we talk about fences, and obviously it can be an analogy for a lot of different things. And I mean, to me, a lot of people right now, I think, because I know for me, as you were talking, my brain went to like silos and how, like, you know, throw it over here, pull it over here. And so we're kind of like very sectioned off. And so it could be a fence, it could be whatever it is, but that's the things we're going to talk about today, because we all experience those, have experienced them, and know that those are things we run into and that we have to deal with. Yes.
Yes. And then we got Mr. Nate says he's just in time to run through that fence.
Love it.
It's going to happen. So I'm going to pose this question to the tribe out there. And like full confession, right? It's confession time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to talk about why I've been on the fence.
Okay.
And so question to the tribe, to the Omniverse, is what makes the fence look comfortable to you? And I say it a lot, Jen, like we'll have conversation like, I'm on the fence on that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think back to like my career, well, perfect example, my cell phone has updates like every 30 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And any time, I do it less now than I used to, but back in the day, I would not update my phone. I would wait a week or two until the update, till I heard all my friends stop complaining about it, meaning all the bugs were fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say, okay, now I'm going to update it because I didn't want to have to deal with that stinky piece of change, right? Because they I mean, really what they did is they deployed a change. And there's gonna be bugs, and it's gonna be bumpy, right? Like that. I think it's a natural thing. There are some people, we'll just say some people that do a really good job of deploying change and like piloting it, doing small pilots to work out the bugs. But there's a lot of people that don't, right? It's like, release the Kraken, and everybody deal with the change, and then there's just all these bumps and bruises along the way. So that's one of the reasons that I'm hesitant and stay on the fence, because I want to make sure like all those bumps and bruises, all of that stuff is worked out. Now, another reason I stay on the fence is because I've worked for a few companies, been around just a little bit, and I've seen a lot of things come out of the gate with a lot of gusto. Mm-hmm. And there's no feedback loop. There's no reinforcement plan for the initiative. And I get excited. Like, I'm naturally an early adopter. Like, man, if this is going to make life better for me and my people, I want to do it. And so I'll go, you know me, like I'm just going to dump all my energy into the thing. And then all of a sudden them focus, they shift their focus to some new thing. And it's like, man, I just did, I got up, I put all my makeup on, got my hair did, and the date's over. Like, this ain't cool. So, and I wonder if folks out there in the Omniverse, have you experienced that within your organizations where there's a shift, a new thing, and you get, all right, yeah, man, let's do this thing. And then it peters out. Like, it just, what happened to that thing? It's gone away. What do you think, Jen? How far?
Yes, let's just say yes. And no, but you and I just like what you and I just presented this week in Vegas at the HEC National Convention. And like, we talked about this. We talked about me specifically within my firm, and how we found something that was successful. And we thought, because this is what we do when we find things that work. Like, let's just like make a policy around it, and let's like tell everybody this is what they need to do. And that's, you know, a lot of things that we do in our firms is we find something that works, and then we don't stop and we don't like take into account all the other things. We just kind of go. And so it's, for me, it's the early adopter thing because I'm excited and I want to do something, but it's also like, has it been vetted out? Like those, that middle ground. And I feel like when we jump and do something super fast because we find, you know, a nugget of something that could work, we have a whole lot of people going, what the heck is happening? What are you doing? And you're not giving us the why, the purpose, the, you had, this is something, this is a one-off, things like that. Like those are conversations that I found that when we do that without communication, when we do that and we're doing it with a small group of people, but it all of a sudden is supposed to be applied massively, one size fits all, whatever it is, it doesn't work. So you got people on the fence, kind of resisting a little, or just like waiting, like you with the updates. And depending on the rollout, depending on kind of the engagement, then they could be like, screw that. Like, I'm not going anywhere near that. Or, okay, I see that. I see what's working. So to me, a lot of it is the communication and the rollout of some of these bigger things.
Yeah, well, yes, 100%. And you said something, one size fits all, plug and play type thing. And there's a lot of comments in here about plug and play. But I know a person, a famous lady that did a conversation about one size fits none.
Yes.
Tell us about that, please.
So, last, I guess a year or so ago, we presented at Congress, Christina and I did, and it was about lean implementation. It was about rolling out lean into your projects and things like that. And early on, we had some success, and we said, hey, here's a policy book that says, here's how you do lean. And we rolled it out and created the checklist and all the things and said, if you apply this, then we're going to be great. We were already great. And so we had people going, what's going on? And I mean, it failed. It didn't work because people they didn't understand. Like, why are we changing if we're successful? And so we realized early on that lean is one example. It could be whatever you're talking about. But when we're looking at rolling out something new or engaging in something new, or even something that could make us better, like if we try to say, here's the blueprint, copy this, do exactly what this team did or this person did, and you're going to be amazing. Like, we're fooling not only ourselves, but we're fooling really the industry, because what we realized is our, I guess, implementation plan that we realized we needed to move to, it's high level, and that every project's going to be different. The square footage, the team, the location, the materials, the scope, the trades that you're going to use, the client you work for, the designer. I mean, like, there's not one, even if it's two, the exact same projects, everything's the same. You don't have the same people building it. Right. And like, because of all those variables, how can we think that all of a sudden one little, prescriptive thing is going to be able to be applied across the board? And I'm not saying policies and procedures aren't important, because to me they are, but that's the foundation. That's the minimum that you need to do to be able to do things safely and, have quality and things like that. Like, I think those things, sometimes people think we're just throwing them out, and we're not throwing them out. That's just like the minimum, but like, you have to make adjustments based on, what you're walking into.
Yeah. I think for me, it's ringing in my head. The difference is standards and standardized work, right? Standards, it's the minimum expectation. These are things that are required. They got to be done. They can be changed, but it takes a lot of effort. There's a heavy, robust process around adjusting the standard. Then there's standardized work, which accounts for the conditions that you're in. And you listed them, right? The people, the weather, like all of the things. How do you apply take the standard and incorporate the conditions, thereby standardizing the approach of the implementation of the standards? Yes. And yes, like it feels right to say, do this and do it this way. Mm-hmm. But that suffocates people and really turns people off. And so, man, we've got a lot of answers to the question of like what helps makes the fence look comfortable to you.
Yes.
Mr. Bruce says self-preservation.
Yes.
Is that like reasonable?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, like you don't know, it's not like you said, the updates, it's not been vetted out. It's not been proven. And why should I be the first one that runs over the hill? Why should I do that? Sacrificing whatever. It's like, I mean, it could be anything. It could be a fail. It could be something that doesn't work. And then all of a sudden that you're associated with that. That's where our brain goes. That's what we think.
So, and like, yes, self-preservation, and I'm already drowning.
Yes.
I already have plenty of work. Like, why am I going to add this disruption to my day when there's other people that are like, there's crazy Jesse over there. He loves to run off the edge. Like, let him do that and we'll figure it out. What about the safety of indecision? I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about that. I really don't. Like, freaking make a decision and roll with it. So if you can help with this one, Jen.
Well, yes. I don't like you right now. So, well, my brain went to perfection paralysis when you were talking earlier on. Sometimes that's another reason that people stay on the fence is because it's got to be perfect. It's got to be exactly what it's supposed to be. And then we'll roll it out. And we all know in this space, space that we live in, like we know we're going to fail. We know things are not going to be perfect, but we can either throw it out there, start getting some iterations, start going through the PDCA cycle, and then, hopefully getting it better each time. And we also know that sometimes we're going to just keep working on it before we do anything with it. Cause that way we can make sure that there's not going to be any pushback. And so I think that safety of like, okay, we'll just kind of keep it here is part of the indecision piece. So that there's that piece, that one that we want to vet it out perfectly. And in the end, it's usually too late, or by the time we've done it, there's something else. So there's that. The real part of the safety of indecision is that when your brain is already got so much going on, and Jesse hit on it. We're all working, we're all drowning, we all have so much going on. And then there's one more thing. And so if we don't pay attention and we don't really watch people and engage with people and ask questions and make sure, hey, how are you doing the check-ins that you and I talk about a lot with people? You are going to one little thing, deciding what taco you want is going to put you over the edge. And then you're like completely not making any decisions and you are going backwards. How about that? Yeah. Can you dig into that any?
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, so a couple of things, Cindy made a follow-up comment about they may not like, because it makes sense to me. It doesn't mean it makes sense to everybody. And that's the world I live in.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Maybe not, and here's the thing. I know the way I think, right? And I understand that when I share an idea that very few people are going to get it. And that's why I share the idea, because the twisted face and like what the rolled eyes and the questions help me learn how to frame the idea so that people can understand it. So it's like the opposite, right? Instead of holding on to it tight and let me keep polishing this turd so that I can answer every single question that's possible. I won't know until I put it out there. And so let's put that bad boy out there. Let's see what I need to adjust so that I can help it make sense to everybody. Adam suffers through that. Like, I do that to everybody. Like, hey, here's an idea. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, well, what questions do you have? And then the question is like, oh, okay, yeah, do. Because I've been swimming in it. It's coming from here. So I got to invest some time to get it out there.
Right. And I want to add that one thing you do, which I appreciate, is because sometimes I have things that maybe haven't been fully vetted. But you get a lot of just word vomit from me sometimes, or just that stream of consciousness. And you go, when I finish, which could be all over the place, Jennifer, this is what I heard. Jennifer, this is what I took away. And it sometimes helps kind of hone it in or create clarity, because I'm like, well, no, that's not what I meant. But if we're not having those type of conversations, letting people kind of put some stuff out there and then coming back with, here's what I heard. Because if I said it to you and you were like, oh yeah, that's great. Then I go and say it to other people and they're like, what the heck's wrong with her? So like being able to have that back and forth with someone and going, okay, here's what I heard. No, that's not what I meant. Oh, okay. And then being able to really have some of those no BS, real, honest, transparent conversations. I think that's important for how we grow things.
Yes, it's be clear, right? I mean, it's one of those it's a feedback mechanism for me to say. It's very different for me to say, Jennifer, this is what I heard. This is what I understood.
Yes.
Than it is to say, I don't know what the hell you're trying to tell me.
Yes.
Like,
which I think you said both, but that's okay.
Yeah. But what it does, I believe what it does is when I say, this is what I heard, it helps you say, oh, okay, well, that's not exactly what I meant. Let me clean that up for you. And when I say, I don't know what the hell you're saying, that gives that opens the door for like, well, because you're a dummy.
Or I just need to stop talking. Like, or it's like it shuts me down completely.
Yes. So that's the whole thing there. Mr. Nate says, fight, flight, or freeze. It's a fear response.
Yes.
And I agree. It absolutely is a fear response. I got to observe what I am going to classify as a fear response in Las Vegas. We had the audio people come and say, hey, do you want a mic? Do you want a lavalier? Like, what do you want? And your response was, no, I'm good. I'm right here. Can you share about that, Jen?
I don't really want to, but I will. So we presented in Vegas. Let me see. Sorry. We presented in Vegas at the AGC National Convention, which was cool because it was the first time we were on stage together. And beforehand, they, do you want the lapel one? Do you need the stage? We have the handheld. And it happens every time. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll be here. I'll stand in front of the podium. There's a mic here. And I'm good. I don't need anything on me. Anybody that's ever experienced me ever in person or even online, like I don't contain well and I don't stay still well. Like that's observations. Yet in my mind, I got this. I'll just stand right here. And about 2 minutes into the dang presentation, I'm like I'm trying to stay in front of the mic because I want to make sure people can hear me. So I'm focused on the mic. And then there was a point where I just said, screw it. And I started walking the stage. And then it was like the Bo, who was the AV guy, like comes up and like tries to hand me a mic. And it was just because in my mind, like, no, this is good. I don't need that. And I didn't. And I literally needed someone to go, Jennifer, you need to do this. And I just froze. That's what I did.
Awesome. And I disappeared. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you still.
That is really interesting. All right. Well, as long as you can hear me, we'll figure out what's going on this end. But what do you think about this person and the thought that they've shared?
Okay. So first, Tanya came in a little late, so she should have a blue heart, but she doesn't. So we're going to treat her like she has a blue heart in her comments. So Tanya, I met about a week ago on a Women in Construction event that I was on. There you go. I see you now. And so she is having some struggles, and she jumped right into NoBS and said, hey, this is something I want to be a part of. So go like her, make sure you give her some NoBS love. So let's start with that because she is a first-time person here. Tanya, thank you so much for showing up this morning. So, and then the other one, her comment, let's just focus on her comment. People, they say, are you taking my job away? And so it's that fear sometimes of, if I do this, is it going to eliminate my job? But also as you start engaging people in new ideas or new thoughts, I'm going to tell you, I've experienced the resistance is why? What is this going to do? What is this going to change? are you teaching somebody else? Do you want somebody to engage with this because now you're trying to do something else with me? That is just, it goes back to self-preservation. It goes back to how do I protect myself and what I'm doing? And I mean, Jesse, we know we've experienced those things. We've seen those in our industry, with the different generations and things like that.
Yes, and yes. So Tanya, welcome. Thank you for jumping on and sharing your thoughts and ideas here. I got like multiple cameras going on.
I know, you just like rolling.
My brain is like, where do I look? Do I look here? Do I look there? So Tanya, thank you for that. Very, very helpful. And Alan, of course, is going to swing hard, right?
Yep.
Staying on the fence to me is about committing to the devil I know over the devil I don't. What I'm learning to do is to embrace uncertainty, and that the only thing that is certain is change itself. And with change comes learnings and missteps, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What do you think about that, Jen? The devil you know and the devil you don't?
I mean, Jesse, again, it's funny because I saw Wesley Baker jump in there, and it's like, I mean, you've got experience with some things that do you stay? Do you stay, in a place that you are comfortable versus, okay, this is something I don't know, but I mean, in our little lean brains, because we're like lean maniacs, and what can we do to be better? What can we do to be better? Sometimes it's easier when you live in that space, but we engage with a lot of people that are not in that space. And we feel all of a sudden, and then we get they get defensive, or we get defensive, or we start going, well, why not? Why not? So do you have any experience with that?
When, like, speaking of Wesley Baker, who I quit on a long time ago, a few years back, it was a question. I had an opportunity I had to take. I couldn't say no, right? It was an offer I could not refuse. And the opportunity was amazing. But I had been with the organization for over 17 years. Right? Like that's longer than all my marriages combined. I had an amazing boss who was Wesley Baker, who really invested in me and valued and sacrificed and stood up for me and supported me. And so I was leaving that. They were my family. And I was leaving to a new organization, going to the dark side, going to work for a general contractor of all places. And it was very much the devil I know versus the devil I don't know. But I also have this crazy streak, right? Of like, let me just do this thing. Like, it's going to, there will be an experience. I will learn something. So I am going to do that. But there were many weeks and weeks and weeks of hard thinking about whether to make the decision or not. So yeah, I was on the fence it was months before I finally made the decision to say, okay, I need to do this. I am going to do this.
What made you make that decision? What was it that like pushed you over the edge?
So the question was this. The opportunity was there was a lot of things to learn. It was doing different type of work. And so I asked myself 3 questions. The opportunity to learn, is it sufficient enough such that if I go over there and I get fired in a year, will that 1 year have given me enough learning to make it worth it? The answer was yes.
Okay.
The second question was, if I go over there with zero support and nobody wants me there, can I tolerate that? And will the potential of it learning be sufficient? The answer was yes.
Okay.
And the third question was, does this opportunity pose enough challenge, so much so that it freaks me out? And the answer was yes. And so because all those 3, like if they would have smoked me in a year, the potential to learn and grow and discover more about myself was enough for me to risk it. And that's what I did. So I said, let's go, baby. Let's do this thing.
I like those questions. Go.
No, that's it. Like, I don't regret it in that I did have that experience, the growth and like all of the stuff. came to pass, and even far larger than I had expected. In terms of self-awareness, it's really where I discovered one of my superpowers, which is this whole listening thing, right? And this surfacing the ugly issues to people with enormous influence and responsibility. And I discovered that at every organization and every level, the further up the organizational chart you go, there are fewer and fewer people that will tell you the damn truth. There are more and more people that are polishing up turds. And so leaders don't have that advisor or crazy psycho person that will tell you you're dealing with a pile of poo. And more importantly, the reason your people are behaving this way is because of this. This is what you're doing that's contributing to that outcome. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, like I'm good at that.
Yep.
How can I help more people become aware of how they're contributing to the problems that they're trying to solve? So boom, bam.
So what I didn't hear you say was it was more money. I had a better title. So I know a lot of times people get caught up in that, or they say, oh, I'm leaving because this company's offering more money, or now I have this new position. But what I think is unique about your reasons or your questions is that we struggle sometimes with, and we have internal conversations, and then even with some of our after party conversations on that people leave because someone's offering them more money, or so people leave because they don't feel valued. And someone will give them a better title, so they're going to go and be somewhere else. And I think we need to dig into this a little bit more, because you're getting lots of love on your questions over there, like that in itself. But in this industry, and I know people that I talk to that they're unhappy either because people won't listen, or the resistance to change. And and we talk about this a lot, are we being transparent? Are we communicating the expectations that we have, or are we having those real transparent conversations with the people in our space? And I would love if you can share too, because obviously you're in a space where you were self-reflecting and you were asking yourself questions to make a really big jump into something else. And so how did you have that conversation with Wesley?
Leslie's gonna love this one. So I knew, here's the thing, he had supported me in such a way that I played a key role. I was a big part of the foundation of something that we were building together. Mm-hmm. And my departure was, I knew that it wasn't going to close because they're still functioning without me, right? Like they keep going. But it was going to slow things down, and it was going to be a major disruption. Mm-hmm. I knew this. And so I did the ultra brave thing and invited him to lunch at a very public place to let him know. And, one of the really important things for me was I wasn't leaving to get a raise. I wasn't informing him that my departure was intended to open up a negotiation. My decision had been made. Like, yes, I was making a little bit more money. Yes, I had an imaginary title that didn't even exist in the system yet. But that's not why I was going. And that's not why I was telling him that, hey, I need to leave. The meeting was to say, hey, look, there's this thing. Mm-hmm. I've accepted it. What do we do moving forward? And it wasn't that. It was very emotional, right? With tears. And it was awesome because he was like, Jesse, personally, I'm proud of you. And professionally, right? Like, he was very honest. And that meant a lot to me, because we both knew how painful it was going to be. But because of the mentor or the relationship that we have, he was still supportive. He's still been supportive of me ever since. But, when I left them, that was the deal. When I left that went on to my next role, same thing. I wasn't having a conversation about negotiating. I had made a decision to do something else that was in line with me becoming the promise I'm intended to be, period. They could have offered me, and I did get offered a lot of stuff, and it was enticing stuff, but that was not the point. The point was I need to grow. I need challenges, and these opportunities in front of me are providing a venue for me to serve in greater degrees. And so if I can't serve, like if staying here and being a martyr means underserving my community, that's not okay. So I'm going to take the next thing, knowing there's a ton of risk and I'm probably going to fail. I'm sure as hell going to learn a lot. Well, let's go do that bad boy. Let's figure it out. And hopefully, you know, somebody may need a day labor. If it don't work out, I can go back and push a shovel. Like I could still, well, kind of. My back hurts when I do that, but that was the deal. Did I answer the question?
You did, and you said underserving community, but I think another thing we talk about is underserving self.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And so can you, and I mean, again, it's easy to go, you know, the promise I'm intended to be to help everybody else, to be in the place that I can continue to impact change. But how many times, you know, do those conversations happen and we sacrifice self because it's like, okay, well, maybe, you know, when we justify it, whatever comes after that, maybe.
Yeah, no. And that's the big element of becoming the promise I'm intended to be. It's like, yes, more earning, more reach, more follower, like all of that stuff. Sure. But that's all like vanity metrics, right? Greater salary, all of those things. But what's at the core of that is me serving me, right? Me no longer suppressing my instincts, me exploring my curiosities and learning and growing to what I could be. And that's the main driver for me. That's why it looks all crazy and wacky to everybody, because I'm here for a greater purpose. And sometimes I'm in it and sometimes I'm growing towards it, but that's where I need to be all the time.
Yes. That's how we show up, and it's how you show up. And I think that's every time we talk, and even in this platform, every time. And like, there's so much over there. Like, I know you're going to start pulling it up because there's so much just magic over there but how we show up. And I think it's easy sometimes because it's like, how do we show up or how people show up? And so a lot of comments I get, or a lot of, Jennifer, where's your energy come from? Where's, you know, like, and it's easy to get caught up on, if I just keep showing up this way and that's how I'm making impact, you know, we can get caught up in that vanity stuff sometimes. But it's also, am I showing up that way because that's what people expect? Or am I showing up that way because that's how I feel? And for me, if there's, and it's every time I show up how I feel. And if there's a moment where someone goes, ooh, you're not showing up the way I expected to, that's something I need to stop and like reflect on. And sometimes we get so caught up on the expectation of others that we have to go and try to fit into something. And I think that keeps us from making those decisions, that we jump into something that's a little uncomfortable. And I think many of them have said that, you know, being comfortable with the uncomfortable, which, you know, I say that all the time.
Yes. And Justin says it, right? The fence is comfortable because no one on the fence gets blamed for something if it goes wrong, right? And so that kind of touches on who builds the fence, who built it, right? Like when I'm a lead, and I've been this guy, when people are trying something new and my response to them, for them, like actually they're figuring it out and vetting it for the organization. But my response is to make fun of them, jump down their throat, you know, make it a negative experience.
Weaponize it.
Weaponize it. Thank you. Right. Like if that's the way I behave with the early adopters, all I'm going to be doing is pushing them towards a fence. Rather, I've just created the fence for them to go sit on.
And it may be another fence. It may be like one fence and another fence, and these people are stuck in the middle.
Yeah. So Justin, thank you for that. Like, it's totally fair. Like, hey man, I've been shot. I got shot the last 2 times. Like, I don't want to get shot no more. So I'm not going to put myself out there. Dominic says some people have gained personal benefits on the other side of the fence, more in comparison. Oh, I love this. In comparison to others, and some have other things in their lives that prevent them to dedicate the mental energy required to get over. Dominic, oh my goodness. Okay. So 2 big things here. One, And we heard this when we visited that job here in San Antonio.
Okay.
The early adopters, what are we doing to recognize, elevate, and support, and even compensate them for leading the charge, for going through all the friction it takes to do something new, to do things differently? The market is not such that we can go fire people, but we can absolutely compensate, recognize, and celebrate the people that are demonstrating the behaviors we seek. And I've seen it over and over and over again. The company has this new thing, whatever it is. And the people that are doing it, they say, thank you, right? The people that aren't doing it, they say, well, they'll come around. Why the hell would I keep doing it if all I'm going to get is a thank you? And that fool over there, they ain't got to do it.
They're still getting their raises. They're still getting their promotions. They're still even if they're not, the spotlight's not on them, it's not keeping them from moving forward.
100%. We got to see a bunch of metrics at the DEI panel discussion last week or earlier this week. And, and I know it's a hard metric. And I also know how hard it is as the leader of an organization to do this. But where are the metrics that say these people, these are the number or quantity of people that have been promoted, that have been compensated because they demonstrate our values all the time? And then these are the people that got promoted and compensated even though they don't demonstrate our values. Like, that's going to take some real guts for somebody to really look at what they're doing annually and own that that's exactly what they're doing, because it's happening. We know it is happening. And so we've got to go there. So the other part that Dominic talked about is the other stuff going on in their life, right? Having the mental energy. And I've been in this position too many times, not in the, like, I didn't have mental energy, but I used to judge people because they didn't step up. Don't you want more for yourself? And don't you want to be bad? Like all of this stuff. And I finally, Fernando, who he's probably the poster child for the Learnings and Missteps podcast, he and I were and I was like on him, like, bro, he has the skills to be a foreman. And I'm like, dude, like, why don't you want more for yourself? Don't you want, like, really, it was me being critical of him. And finally, he's like, Jess, a few things, bro. Like, I don't want to be a foreman because I don't like speaking. And I got to go to meetings and I get all nervous and like, oh, well, we could work on that. We could get you in. Like, no. He's like, Jess, here's the other thing. I've got this nonprofit that I'm a part of. And we do fan drives, we do toy drives, we do bike drives, we do stuff for the impoverished part of our community. And that takes a lot of my time. And that means a lot more to me than a promotion. He's like, and I've adopted, I don't know how many, he had, 4 or 5 kids that he had adopted. He says, so me and my wife are figuring out how to raise these kids and adjust our life appropriately. So I don't have time to be worrying about these stupid meetings. And in that moment, I'm like, oh my God, like, I never considered that other people, their priority is not work. My priority was, their priority was their life, which is a good thing. And so I didn't need to be judging them. I needed to figure out how to support them and celebrate them. And so, Dominic, I really appreciate your comment, because that sort of thing gets lost. It got lost on me for decades. I mean, I've had people quit on me because I put so much pressure on them to continue growing and advancing. And since then, I've been able to throttle it back. You got any experience with that, Jen?
This is what I love talking about, is the humanness of who we are, and the human, in that, if nothing else, if we have nothing else in common, like, and there's a lot of people in our space, like, we're all human beings. And it's something I lean into because it scares the crap out of people when you start talking about human, because that's feelings and all that stuff, not just inside of work, but outside of work, stuff you just spoke to. And so, yes, a couple of things. Number one is, when you use that word inside of work, it changes the conversation. And so I use this and I facilitate a lot of meetings even inside my firm. And sometimes we're in a room with people that, they're starting a project together, or, the people that are, they're still trying to figure out who, what's going to happen. They got a lot of decisions to make. They got a lot of things that are going to happen going forward. And one of the questions I have them answer in the room is, what makes me human? And I'm telling you, there's some, like you said, that are like, oh, no, this is not where I'm living. And so they're very surface. They kind of like, I have 2 dogs, I have 3 kids, just very, very, very minimal. And then there's some that as soon as they talk and finish, everyone in the room is like, oh my gosh, like this is not just the architect. This is not just the engineer. This is like a person that has the things you just explained. And one of them was, I was in a room, two examples. One of them, I was in a room, we were going around, and you had to step up and say, what makes me human? And I'm going to say, if you're doing this, start with you. You've got to start with you, because they will stay surface until they realize that what you're asking them to do is something more than surface. And so for one person in the room stood up and, had a little gray hair, and, he was, he was one of those people that, you knew he brought a lot of power and a lot of influence. And he said, my name is whatever. And what makes me human is I have a daughter that is autistic, or dyslexic. She had an issue that she was dealing with. And I sit with her every night and do homework with her. And when I travel, it not only it's hard because we have to do it kind of over the phone, but also how it impacts her. And he was, getting a little, had some allergies and stuff. And like the whole room was like, all of a sudden, this was not the person that they're going to have to sit across the table with and argue and fight with. It's now this person that is human. And that, and like, how can we maybe have him not travel as much? And all of a sudden, like, you could tell the conversations were different. And then another person in the room, it was probably the highest ranking person in the room. And we asked, what makes you human? And she said, I am in a lot of spaces, and I am so clumsy. And when I'm walking, if I'm not paying attention, I'm tripping, I'm, sometimes whatever. And I could look so goofy and, flaky and stuff like that. And that is how I can appear sometimes to people, because I'm so clumsy. And everyone's looking like, this is like the highest, the person that has the most clout in the room. It changed the conversation. And if we can have those ones, like you said, with Fernando, but like those conversations with people and, what is it that is important to you? And we ask those questions and don't just make assumptions that what's important to you is important to me. It all of a sudden makes us be in something together instead of across the table from somebody. So
yeah. That's the key word, I think, is together.
Yes.
Right. And we often forget the together part, the human part. And so Dominic, and I'm guilty of this, he points it straight at it. Some manager want the best out of people for themselves versus what's best for their people, right? Like, I've had leaders tell me, like, Jess, there's this position that you would be great at, but if you leave, it's going to suck for me. Like, okay, so what do we want to do? And they were being honest. And then they said, okay, no, the organization, this is going to be good for everybody involved. I've also worked with leaders. They're like, you don't want to do that. Don't worry about that. Like, that's just for other people, because they wanted to keep me there. And so that's a real thing, right? How many, I think I heard it on Matt Graves' podcast, and the value of social media. And I'll use the word, even though I don't like, branding yourself. Mm-hmm. Because if you're counting on your manager to be your brander or your marketer, the person that's telling everybody how amazing you are, that's a big risk. Mm-hmm. Exactly, because of what Dominic points at right here. Because not all managers are going to advocate for you to advance out of their group.
Yes.
And so you need to be letting people know what you got going on. Mm-hmm. You've got to brand yourself, and you got to put yourself out there so that people know what you bring. Yeah. Because it's unfortunate, but it is true in that some folks that they really don't understand that as a manager, You are responsible for the careers and livelihoods of families.
Yes.
And all you're thinking about is your bones. And that's a problem. Like, that is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
You ever been in that situation?
Of course, Jesse, we all are in this situation. But I mean, I know in my career, I've been with the same company for 20 years. Like, no, everyone knows that. And so I know, like, 16 years in, it was like I was getting into lean. I was excited about lean construction, and I was looking like, okay, what does that look like for me going forward? And I was in this like position, having worked for the same boss for 16 years.
Oof,
and having that conversation, and because of the relationship and because of the value and all the other things, like it was almost the same with the same one you had with Wesley. It was like, this is amazing, and this is exactly what you need to do, Jennifer. It's just going to suck for me. But it's like sometimes, yes, and we value people and we trust people and we have some amazing relationships, but that can't be the deciding factor of why we stay somewhere and why we limit ourselves, and why, like, if we're doing it, and going back to what Dominic said, if we're doing it for other people versus for ourselves, I mean, like, that's huge. And I know sometimes that limits us because people don't, I'm going to tell you, I never want to disappoint somebody. And that's my kryptonite. Like, disappointing people is like something that can debilitate me. I don't want to disappoint people. But I also like have to make decisions sometimes that I know. So it may not be what the crowd wants, or it may not be what someone saw as my trajectory, and that's okay.
Yes. So Mike has a question for you.
Of course. Why is it me? No.
He said, he texted me. He said, as a manager, where do you draw the line between looking out for the company and looking out for the employees? Do you draw the line at all? Does blending the concepts make you a better manager?
Okay, well, I'll answer, but you're going to have to answer this too. So I'll start. How about that? I'll make it easy.
Come on.
So to me, it's not a line. Will you leave it up there just because I want to make sure I answer?
I lost it. We'll bring it back up.
Yeah.
Can you hook it up?
It's not a line in my opinion. So I don't draw the line. Number one, always, is I'm looking out for people. Always, for me. Now, again, this is in my position and what I do. It's always looking out for people. But because of my background and because I know I am a representative of my firm, I always have the lens of how is that going to reflect? How is that going to come across? So I can't just discount it. I can't just go, that's not important because the person's important. So for me, the lens is, okay, I am a representative of my firm, and I absolutely want to make sure, if I believe it and I believe that they're behind me, that is reflected in how I show up and how I talk. But 100%, and if you don't know that, you will, I always show up with that, making sure that we are taken care of and really acknowledging and listening to the people. So nice. I think that's my answer. What about you, Jesse?
Oh, I have to answer it too?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I see it differently. Like, in my head, my responsibilities to the company, like, first, no line, right? When it comes to people, to other people besides me, no line. My responsibility as a manager to the company is to, make sure that everybody's doing the stuff and blah, 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 hitting the KPIs and all of that. My responsibility as a leader is to develop people. And if developing somebody means that they're going to leave my group, that they're going to grow so much so that they're going to be recruited all over the place and they're going to leave the company, then that is my responsibility. Okay. It is my responsibility as a leader to develop people. Now, I understand that it's painful to lose people. And all that is an indicator that my systems for attracting and we'll say socializing people to my organization and my group and the things that we need to do needs work, right? Like, yes, they're going to leave. So we know that people are going to leave, especially now. People leave more and more and more and more. Yes, it stinks. But as a leader, I am committed to developing human beings to whatever it is they want to do. As a manager, I'm going to make sure they're doing their damn job. That's the easy part. Helping them develop and become the promise they're intended to be. That is my role as a leader. And if my system sucks in that I can't attract people and I can't onboard them, and that's a very loose term, but I can't integrate them into my system, into my organization, such that they're providing the value they're intended to provide in a definitive time frame, then that's a system problem. That's a process issue that I need to fix. So I guess summary, my answer is yes and, right? Manager, I got to make sure they do all these things. But as the leader, I am absolutely committed to helping people explore their curiosities and grow to whatever it is they want to grow to. And it's painful. It hurts. I know it does.
Well, and I want to add to that, because this past week we got to sit in on a presentation by Keon. And Keon was talking about Builder 2.0, and he has a lot of really cool things that he talks about. But one thing he says, and he says it in a lot of his presentations, is we have to be a part of changing the people, or we have to change the people. And it's the encouraging and really being there and supporting, and what does that look like for growth and all those things. But we also have to acknowledge that sometimes there's just people that they just need to go do a good job somewhere else. And that's hard. That's a hard conversation, because like you said, sometimes it's the system, it's the processes, and we're trying to get people to fit to them. And there's also people, we just need to own it, they're not going to fit. That this is just not where they want to be. This is not what they're willing to do. And there's got to be a point of, okay, like we have to acknowledge that they're just not going to fit in where we're trying to go or what we're trying to do. And it's not just discounting them and just pushing them to the side. But if you're really having those, you're engaging with them and you're having those conversations, like it should be pretty clear to both parties.
Yes. Yeah. The easiest way I've heard that said is change the people or change the people. Right. I'm kind of feeling like we're gonna have to come back for a part 2 on this, because all we've talked about is why
no, yes, we haven't torn down anything.
We haven't torn nothing down. And so I want to hit George. He's got a beautiful, like a reality here. George Hunt says you can see everything happening on both sides from the top of the fence. I can watch all the bumps going on for the early adopters, but also see what people not adopting are missing out on.
And how do we communicate? I mean, what do we do with that when we are that's interesting. Oh, it's like all these people. It's like, that's a graphic. I see it in my head. Like you have the fence, you have the people up on the fence looking down. You have the people over here looking up. You have these people that are like, screw the fence, I'm going over the hill. Like it's a whole different, that's the world of almost every one of our firms.
Yes. Yes. Another reinforcer, Dr. Cherry says the fence is comfortable because we know it. It's stable. The unknown feels risky, 100%. So there's another question here that I know you have the answer to, Jen. Everybody knows you have it.
It's like deflection here. That's what I see.
So here it is. When we're talking about a firm adopting to lean, all kind of people will be involved. Question is, how does Jen make this process sweet for everyone?
Well, one, I show up and I smile. That's the first thing. I don't come in with a hammer. I don't come in with a blowtorch or so number one is I show up, and to make a process sweet. Like I like the way you worded that, Tanya, but I'm going to tell you early on failed because we were doing lean to people. We found things that worked, and we said, this is amazing. We had success. So let's go do this to all of our projects. Let's go do this to all of our leaders, our project leaders that have been having success, been meeting their schedules, their budgets, high quality, safety, great. Everything they've done has been everything we've asked them to do, if not more. And now I got a better way for you to do it. That is not the way to do it, because even though we may have had some cool ideas and some good ways to improve things, they weren't involved in it. They weren't engaged. They weren't a part of the solution. And like, I know that's minor, but it's huge when it's the other person on the other side getting lean done to them. So we talk about this a lot, but if anything, the biggest takeaway I took from that, and then every day how I show up, I don't show up and go, because lean is my role and because continuous improvement is what I want to make sure we're doing every single day. I don't show up and go, I have the answers, let me help you. I have the answers, let me tell you what you need to do to be better. Every day I show up and I start with asking questions and getting feedback and asking them what works, what doesn't work, where your struggles are, where your pain parts are, what is making your work so hard. And when you start with those conversations, I'm not saying it makes it sweet, but all of a sudden they have value. And when people feel they have value and they are a part of the solution, the buy-in is completely 100% different than someone telling them what they have to do.
Yes. So my approach to that is it's very similar, but it's ease somebody's pain, right? Like you said it. Are we doing lean to people? If I'm gonna lean you out, right? Like I don't need no leaning. I'm good. But I have a pain point, right? A little secret ninja thing I used to do, especially with teams that they don't want to have nothing to do with it. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna come to the project. Is it cool if I hang out and work from your trailer for half a day, walk the job, check it out and just chill? Cause I got some stuff that I need, administrative type work I need to get done. Are you good with that? And they would always say, yeah, sure. Like whatever, just as long. And basically they were saying, as long as you don't bug me, you can do whatever the hell you want. And so what I would do is I would sit in the trailer and yes, I would work, but I would be observing and listening to all the pain points, the things that kept, all the distractions that hit them and all, like whatever it was that I could see, like, ooh, that bugs them. That's really kicking them in the face. And here's the issue. They know it kicks them in the face, but they're so used to it. We just keep dealing with it. And then I say, hey, I noticed that this sucked. Like it didn't seem like, yeah, man, that freaking thing happens all the time. What my favorite one was like, I bet you don't have any magic lean stuff for that. Like, well, maybe not, but can I show you something? And I, whatever the idea was, because back to like one size fits none. I used to get super anchored on the latest tool, and that was the answer to everything. It's not. And so I'd say, okay, hey, so this is what you're dealing with. What if we try, what is this? Look at this thing I got here. Does that look like something that you could use? And they're like, well, I think so. Tell me more. And so they're like, okay. And then it's like what I would do. Yes, we had a standard thing or some kind, there was an app or something, right, that I could have directed them to. I got my dry erase markers. It went to the whiteboard and said, here, what if we just super messy? What if we did something like this? I could do that. Awesome. And what the end result was, I just eased the pain for that individual. And guess what? When people ease the pain for me, I like them and I go back to them.
Whoa. Yes.
And then I start getting invited back to the party. And then I'm not the lean executioner. I'm trying to help make their day better. What do you think about that?
No, and yes, and the change, and again, there's so much over there. I'm trying not to focus on the dang comments, but the change and the value, the importance, the power of not just the change, but the stabilization after.
Yes. Oh my God.
I mean,
yes.
and it's like, to me, I know it's Bruce's comment about like, sometimes the fence doesn't mean it needs to be torn down. Sometimes for me, and that's what I just heard, is you had someone, you come in, you get involved, you ask them about, what about this one thing? The value of maybe that fence sometimes is creating the stabilization of someone that doesn't. It's like, I know for me, if it's change, it's adjust, and you're never at a point of stabilization. Like, then you're going to start fighting everything, even if you believe in it, even if you know and you see it can make things better, because you never have this moment of like, take a breath and okay, let's see, let's get some feedback. Let's all, like, if you're just in this constant state of change, like, and so, that fence could also be a place where people like stop and try to create some stabilization before they're ready to jump to the next idea. So yes.
Gangsta. Thank you for that, Mr. Bruce. And so we got 6 minutes left and got to make an announcement. The Lean in Love audiobook is available today. I've just dropped the link in the chat on all the socials. Buddy Brumley, me, Jen, Adam, we are the voice actors. We are the talent. And I got to say this so that it's like recorded in public. Adam is going to take credit for writing the book because he does most of the reading. And I just want to be clear that he was a contributor in the audio version and some quotes. You like that one, Adam? No, for real, y'all. Like, Adam has like an amazing reading voice. Sometimes I think about calling him and, Adam, can you tell me a story so I can go to bed? But Buddy stepped out there. He got way out of his comfort zone and recorded with us. He has some important pieces in the book. You and I, Jen, we read our elements, like the specific quotes, and then
stories.
Adam reads everything else. And I don't think he knew how much, like, he has the largest volume of airtime on the thing. He did a phenomenal job. So folks, if you've got the Lean in Love book and you want to like hear the feeling behind the different things, the audiobook has that. And if you're not a reader, it's available on audio.
Yes, you can just listen to it.
I also posted the link to the after party in the chats, and it's also on the NoBS page, and it's also on my personal profile page on LinkedIn. So if y'all want to continue, I want to continue the conversation, and I want to hear other people's voices.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm just going to have to keep picking on Jen and make her answer all the questions. What do you think?
I can deflect really good. I've learned.
So, closing thought, Jen.
Oh my gosh, just one. One, I love the conversation, and I'm like you. This is probably going to be whatever we're talking about next is going to come from some comments and some things that have already happened on this one, because like there's so much value. Jesse and I like to show up and we like to, banter and talk about our experience. But if you were on today and you were focused on us, which a lot of people do, go back and read the freaking comments, because like I just got distracted on it, but there's so much value in our tribe. And so we like to just stir the pot. I think more than anything else is like we start the conversation and we're like, okay, let's see where this can go. But we talk about the fence, and we talk about there's not a person out there that hasn't experienced behind the fence, on top of the fence, in front of the fence, jumping over the cliff, getting pulled back in. That fence is and I think Cindy said it, I think some other people said it, the safe place, the comfortable place. And I'm going to say there's nothing wrong with that if that's your place, if that's what you're looking for. But we also know a lot of people in this tribe that is not where they want to be or where they want to stay. And so my closing thought is just know that you have a lot of people around you. And if you are contemplating, or you are, you've got some things that you're trying to think about and you're not sure, like what to do, you do have people around you that, you can throw them and get some feedback, or you can throw it out there and go, hey, what do you think? Like everybody that showed up today, everybody that's in our tribe, like we just want to help keep people continue moving forward and helping them expand the promise they're intended to be.
Gangsta. I love it. So my closing thought is Adam's the new Morgan Freeman.
Yes.
Thanks for that, Mike. And Steve Martin drops a teaser. He says, all this awesomeness reminded me of the 8 words that can transform your life. I learned long ago, and he's going to be sharing it in the after party. So join the after party, the NoBS marketing tease. And seriously, my closing thought is this. Yes, the fence is a place of security, and there's value in that. And it's also a place to hide. And this isn't a challenge to people that get on the fence, because I admitted at the top of the conversation that I go there often.
Mhm.
This is a call out to all the leaders and managers out there that behave in such a way that make people want to be on the fence long term.
Mhm.
Like, you are contributing to the problem. So I guess in summary, we are all responsible, we all contribute, and we are all guilty of playing a role in the successes and failures that we experience.
Mhm.
And when we start taking ownership for the role and the contribution that we have in that, we can change our lives and we can change the world, one world at a time.
Yes.
So I got to go do some stuff and get ready for the after party. Folks,
Yes.
the links are everywhere. I want to
Yes.
hear your voice and I want to rest my voice. So please jump on the after party. Love, Jen, happy birthday again. Love you,
Thank you.
sister. Hoots, knockout job on the chat. Folks out there in the Omniverse, y'all lit it up. And I am definitely, it'll be tomorrow, but I will be going through the comments because I missed too much. I thought I missed a whole other party. So we'll see y'all
Yes.
next time. Peace. Ooh, ooh.